me a hands up if you're ready. Yes. Okay, great. I wonder, I can't really see how many people are in here. 70. Oh my god. Admit all. Some more people coming in now. All right. Lots of people. Okay, we're actually gonna start by taking a couple of deep breaths together. So I invite you to close your eyes for a little moment. You can make sure that your feet are steady on the ground. If you want, you can put a hand on your heart. And you can close your eyes. And empty your belly, empty your lungs completely of air. And then take the deepest breath you've taken all day in through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. One more deep inhale through the nose. And a slow exhale through your mouth. I'm now going to say a little prayer that I like to say before I start any ceremonies or workshops. And you are welcome to keep your eyes closed if that feels right. And if you feel called, you can follow along. Great source of love, I open myself to you, to be a channel for you, for love to flow into this world. I ask you to show me how I can best be of service to the greater resonance of our collective field. I ask you to guide me through signs, synchronicities, and insights to where I am meant to be, to who I am meant to become. With great playfulness and some serious play, show me what you've got. I am ready. And when you're ready, you can slowly come back into this workshop. And I am also going to light a little candle for all of us. I hope you can see it. Can you see this candle? Here it is. If you can't see it, you can feel it. Great. I got these beautiful matches for Christmas in this Christmas gift game, finally, because I used to light all my candles with this super ugly lighter, but now I have a gorgeous way of doing this. Are you ready? Whoa! Wow, that was a huge spark. Okay. Great. So, I assume that most of you at least have a vague idea about who I am, but let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Amalia Rachel. I'm a self-taught visionary artist. I am a writer. I am a space holder for workshops and ceremonies. And I'm also a mom of a 6-year-old boy. And lots of other things that we don't have time to talk about today. And I am imperfect, just like each and every one of you here. I forget things, I mess things up, I don't do the laundry until I run out of underwear, I have my messy moments, trust me. But I also have so much to give. So much love, so much joy, and so many insights. And I am so excited to share those with you today. And I see my role on this planet as somehow a bit of an alchemist. I like to take the challenges and the mess and to turn it into something beautiful, whether that's art, writing, poetry, courses, you name it. So, if you take anything away from this, I hope that you see this as your own permission slip to also share your magic with the world, regardless of how human and how messy you might be, because we all are. Okay? I see some more people in the waiting room, admitting them. Okay. And before we dive in, I also want to say a little disclaimer. You are now entering my worldview, and I'm going to share it with you filterlessly. But I want you to know that this worldview is not the ultimate truth. What I'm sharing is channeled, and it's channeled through a human, which means that my lived experience, my perspective, my flaws, and my gifts are mixed in with the message of this. So take what resonates and leave the rest. This is an invitation into a perspective, an artistic perspective on life. Yay! I also have my assumptions about you. Let's see if I'm correct. I believe that most of you who came here, who came into my space, are sensitive beings. Am I correct? Do a thumbs up if you feel like you're a sensitive being. Yes.
Would you
Several
like
of
us to be
you.
quiet or would you like us to like sound?
You can be quiet and mute
Yeah,
yourself. Thank you.
love this.
So happy you're here. Okay. And I believe that you are here not to follow a script that you've been handed by society or your family or someone else that had expectations on who you're supposed to be. I believe that you are here because you want to live in the largest sense. You want to taste existence at its fullest. You want to love and fall in love with life. You want to feel it all. And you want to know by the end of your life that you did your absolute best to live a life that was led by your heart. That's what I believe about you, because those are usually the kind of people who come into my space. So if you're like, no, that's not me, I invite you to actually test that and see if there might be some truth in it. It looks like some of you agree. I also believe that somewhere inside you have this feeling that there is a larger intelligence guiding us all. Perhaps you have sensed it in brief moments. Perhaps you have had moments of perfect timing, of crazy coincidences, or just those little times where you felt guided by something larger than yourself. Maybe a butterfly appeared, or a bird, or a feather, whatever it was. I also believe that you want to contribute to the resonance and the harmony of planet Earth. And you're doing your best to find your own unique way of doing that. But you're also seeing the current mess of humanity. And you're asking yourself, how do I participate in all of this and still remain true to myself, to my heart? Maybe sometimes you feel overwhelmed by the news, by all the information. Maybe sometimes you feel distracted. Maybe you end up scrolling on your phone instead of doing what you actually know you're meant to do. Or perhaps you're overthinking, second guessing your intuition, and feeling a little bit stuck. Not sure where to start, not sure how to move forward. Does this resonate with you? Yeah. Yeah. I know, because I am like that too. So, what I'm about to teach you is one of the most potent things that I have found in my own life. This is a life philosophy that has made me brave as hell. This is a life philosophy that makes me feel this incredible sense of joy in my life. I'll have days when I haven't slept well, or when I'm tired or stressed or whatever, but deep down, there's always this inner sense of joy and trust in life and in myself and in the greater intelligence. And that's what I'm teaching you. I almost can't believe that I'm giving you this for free, but I do believe in the power of generosity. I do believe that what we give comes back to us in one way or another. And I'm shamelessly going to sell you my course in the end, like everyone who's doing a free online event. It's called The School of Synchronicity. It's the perfect blend of serious but also playful. I'm not going to say more right now, but you're going to start understanding what it's all about. But regardless if you join that, I truly, truly believe that if you take in what I'm sharing with you today, you will leave this with your life changed. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna share with you a little image. All right, guess what this is? This is us. It's so crazy because, in a way, Earth is so large. And it's so wonderful that we are all connected through this thing called internet, where you can hear me speak in real time. But if you zoom out far enough, this is what we look like from a distance. This is a photo, I believe, from Voyager 1 from NASA, 3.7 billion American miles away, or 6 billion kilometers. This is where it all happens. All the love stories, all the mysteries, all the gossip over lattes, the New World Records, so many births, so many deaths, all the flirts, all the epic stories you've ever heard of have been written on this tiny little dot right here. And did you know that if evolution like from when Earth was born until today, if we pretend it happened in a year, the time that humanity has been on Earth is only 30 seconds. The last 30 seconds of a year. That's how long we've been on planet Earth compared to the life of Earth itself. So, in a way, our lives are a little glimmer in the grand scheme of things. And one day, this is all going to be over. And at the same time, your life is everything you got. This experience of life right now, this moment. What's liberating about this is that nobody is going to remember our failures in the end. And we could say that it's so sad, that it's so short, that does it even matter? And I think all of that is, it's reasonable to say, but I say no. It's not meaningless. The meaning is in the perspective that you choose to take. And you can choose your perspective. And today is an opportunity to choose an artistic perspective on life. So, what I'm going to teach you is a pathway into more joy, flow, connection with a greater whole, basically more magic. That's what I like to call magic. We want to dance, we want to play, we want to laugh our way through life. We also want to love deeply. We want to feel it all. We want crazy coincidence and wild synchronicity. And we want to give in a way that feels like our contribution in this brief little moment that we have here, that it matters. But when we feel out of alignment in life, when we're not living our truth, this perspective becomes almost impossible to have. When we stay in jobs we hate for too long, when we don't say what we deep down know that we need to say, when we avoid telling the truth in relationships because we want to keep the peace, or when we stay in friendships that are draining our energy, or when we hold back on telling that person that we're in love with them, when we hold back on going on that adventure that we've always dreamed of, when we hold back on having kids because what if I'm not a good mom? Or we don't share our gifts with the world because what are people going to think? And when this happens, when we're not living the life that we truly want, our energy gets drained. We stress, we worry, we feel stuck or even frustrated. Life feels heavy. And I think this is especially true if you're a sensitive person. You feel this. So, this is about recognizing your inner truth and to live it in a way that taps into the resonance with a greater whole. Because that's where synchronicity happens. That's where life becomes your magical playground. Then you have energy over to open and widen your perspective and take in the beauty and the way that life is always guiding you, because it is. But when we're stressed and worried and stuck, we can't see that. This is not about being perfect. I want to stress that. This is about doing our best, and that's enough for synchronicities to start to show up. That's enough for us to start feeling like we're guided. I also want to say that life is counterintuitive. And this is a dance between opposites. I'm going to say a lot of things that feel like opposites. And that is because life on Earth is fueled by contrast. Light and dark, hot and cold, wet and dry. We see them as opposites, but actually, they are both needed for life to exist. And that is also true when I talk about synchronicity. We are guided always. And at the same time, we cannot escape the challenges of life. But when we know our North Star, when we look for our contribution, the challenges tend to become more meaningful. Sometimes not in the moment, I'll say that. And we shouldn't like push it into meaning when there is a moment to grieve or to be angry. But in the long run, when you look for your contribution, the meaning always comes. So let's dance. Okay, after all, we're talking about synchronicity. So, what is synchronicity? I like to call it the meaningful coincidence of two or more events with no clear causal connection. So the events are not physically connected, they're not caused by each other, but their occurrence together hold meaning to the person experiencing them. Perhaps you have thought of someone and then you bumped into them the next day, or you're seeing the same symbolic thing like a butterfly or a bird over and over, and somehow it reminds you of a specific meaning. Or I'm gonna share another story with you soon. I'm gonna take it then actually. But it could also be like this, you have a vague thought like, oh, it would be lovely to live in that place. And then somehow by crazy coincidence, you end up living there. And according to recent scientifically non-proven studies, it is also a common side effect of a life lived in resonant truth. I would say that synchronicities are actually always there if we widen our perspective, but when we start choosing truth is when we start to notice. There will also be quiet phases in your life where synchronicity might not happen, and it doesn't have to mean that you're out of integrity, not living your truth, but it may mean that it's time for you to be the synchronicity. And synchronicity also seems to show up more when we're in need of guidance. I also want to say that, yeah, this is also a dance. We don't want to like look for synchronicities to approve of our life choices. We don't want to grasp for them, but rather we want to focus our attention on living a life that is true to us. And when we do that, that is when synchronicity feels like a beautiful side effect of a life lived in truth. Okay, here's a little story. This is my home. I love it here. I am so, so, so grateful. I have this art corner, which you can see in the background, where I paint my paintings. You're going to see some of my paintings later in this presentation. And I want to tell you the story of how I got this home. So, me and my ex-partner were in the middle of a very tough decision. We were great friends, but we weren't lovers, and we decided to part ways. And this was a decision that had been carefully talked about and processed over a long period of time. And we were both so scared. But once we made the decision, a crazy thing happened. I was going on walks in the evening, looking at this like area with beautiful villas. And I was wondering, how is this all going to work out? Where am I going to live? I have no idea. And so just before we split up, a couple of friends started to tell me, like, maybe you should look for a place to live. And I was like, no, I don't know. It's too early. I'm not sure. And then I went on this page where you can find places to rent in Sweden. And I looked there once and I found this one article with no images, but I recognized the address and it wasn't even registered in my area. It was actually registered in a larger area, but somehow I stumbled upon this. And once I read the description, I realized that it was an attic floor apartment in a villa with its own garden in this amazing area that I had walked through so many times. And I immediately wrote to the owner of this ad. And so on the day that we made the choice, my ex-partner said, "Have you looked for any place to live?" And I was like, I had this one look and I saw this place. There's no image, but it seems to be in this area. And when I mentioned the area, my ex-partner said, "Oh, but that's where our friends live, Eric and Johanna." And I was like, "What?" And this is a couple that I had made friends with 2 weeks earlier because of coincidence. Because I was supposed to have a ride to a party that got cancelled, and then I got another ride with them. And then we ended up having the most amazing time and became great friends. And so when he said that, and he said, "You have to message them," I did. And it turned out that the person renting out the space was their neighbor. So they put in a good word for me. I went, had a look at this place, and it was the most beautiful thing I could ever imagine. And a week later, I had the keys in my hand. And not only that, but this area also turned out to become like a little village where so many of my other friends have moved in next door. They have kids the same age, they play in the gardens, and we have pancakes here on Thursdays. It's amazing. It's basically the best solution I could ever have asked for. And it all came right after a bold and brave but necessary decision. So, I'm going to explain more about this soon, but I also want to say that sometimes synchronicity can be more simple. This one time, the first time I wrote about synchronicity and shared it in a guide with a large co created gathering, I went out after that to my favorite tree in the forest. I've been going there for so many years, and I've had eagles as my symbol that reminds me of my visionary abilities, my ability to make art and write and share insights with people. And as I had finished this guide and went into the forest, at the top of this tree, there was an eagle. I have never seen an eagle in this forest before or after, and it was sitting at the top of my favorite tree. And to some, that might seem like nothing, but to me, it held this meaning. And that's what I mean with synchronicity, having meaning, personal meaning. So only you can know for sure what that means to you. But for me, it felt like an encouragement, like a little wink from the universe saying, "Go on, continue." And I would say that that is one of the reasons why I'm sitting here with you all. today. Not the only one, because I love this topic, but definitely one of them. So, actually, before we dive into this, take a moment. And if you haven't already, pull out your journal and pen and be ready to reflect and write things down. And I want to first invite you to take a moment to notice what has been showing up in your life lately. Has there been any recurring symbol, perhaps something that several people have told you, something that somehow struck a chord in you, big or small? Sometimes it's the smallest things, but they hold importance. And sometimes they don't make any sense at all until much, much later. You don't have to write much, but just jot it down in your journal so you can remember it for later. Perhaps you've been seeing deers in certain moments, or butterflies, or you bumped into the same person over and over again, or something completely different. Perhaps several people have told you to to write more, or to make a book, or whatever. Just notice. All right. So we're going a little bit now into the theory that I have about life and synchronicity. And we're not going to dwell here for too long, so I'm going to kind of quickly go through this. But feel free to take screenshots or photos if you want to remember each and every word. So remember, this is not the ultimate truth, but my artistic perspective on life. So I believe that planet Earth is a vast, intelligent being. And actually, I used to say the universe instead of planet Earth, and you feel free to replace this with your own word of choice. But somehow, planet Earth felt a little more grounded, so we're gonna go for that this time. And I also believe that we are planet Earth experiencing itself right now in your body with your consciousness in human form. So I see you as a vital cell in a larger body. And I believe that Earth decided to be you in this lifetime for good reason. I believe that we all are here because we have a contribution to make. And your contribution is partly coded into your character. But it also comes through your challenges and your lived experience. Your longings, your values, your curiosities, the things you love, even the things you loved as a child, are very important clues here. And when I say that planet Earth is intelligent, I don't really mean that it has a brain. I mean that it's intelligent in a way that our brains cannot even grasp. But there are moments, like when we experience synchronicity or when life just flows or syncs up, and we just get this feeling that there is something greater at play. That's what I mean. So the witnessing awareness in you is the witnessing awareness of planet Earth. And when I say that, I mean not your thoughts, but what is behind the thoughts. What is able to look at your thoughts? What is able to witness life? That is consciousness. And I believe that that consciousness is not only your own, but also the consciousness of this planet. So, one of the main goals of synchronicity, I believe, is to guide you to your contribution. You could also call it your purpose, but I don't like that word because it becomes so heavy, and we think that we only have this one purpose we're going to fulfill in this lifetime. I like more to see it as what you're meant to do right now. It does not have to be your occupation, but it can be. But it can also just be how you show up wherever you are. And in connection to this, oh, now you're also seeing my art, by the way, but I guess most of you knew that. There is something called, that I like to call, the flow of life. The flow of life is a sort of current, an invisible current, and it is somehow connected to your unique contribution. So when we do what we're meant to do here on this planet, we can sense the flow of life more easily. In a way, we're always in it because we're part of life, right? But I also believe that when we feel lost, we feel a little bit out of sync with this flow. So when you choose your inner truth, it's like you jump back into the current. And this is when synchronicities start to show up more frequently if you're in need of guidance. They can also show up as a way to guide you back into the current. And this doesn't mean that we have to be super aligned and in the current all the time. No, we're meant to get lost and find our way back again so that we have the insights and the wisdom to help others find their way back into the current too. Does that make sense? Lots of people are writing. If this makes sense to you, make a thumbs up. Okay, great. If you ever have questions, you can write them in the chat, and I will make sure that you your questions are answered in the end, or Ella will let me know. And Ella, I think we have a few people in the waiting room, maybe. So maybe you could double check. Thank you. Great.
And Amalia, there is a red drawing in the slide,
Oh,
some red lines.
I kind of want to blame my 6-year-old, but
We are
I have no idea why it's there. That's so strange. Okay, I'm not sure how to remove it, so we're gonna roll with it. Let's see it as a little beautiful reminder of imperfection, which I've been talking about so much. Okay, the North Star is your contribution in all of this. And somehow I think that our contribution is what we loved to do as a kid, what we're so obsessed, like what we get geeky about, the things that you may not even think are contributions because you're just doing them naturally. and your integrated life lessons from the mess that you have faced and what the world needs. Those combined is what makes up your contribution. This is not the only purpose of life. The purpose of life is also just to enjoy the ride, to take in the beauty, to witness the magic of it all. But I somehow think that when we have this as our focus, life makes sense in a way that it didn't before. And the contribution can change and it doesn't stay the same throughout all of your life. Okay, another story. Oh, how can I tell this quickly enough? So, I also want to say that aligning with synchronicities and the intelligence of life doesn't take away challenges and hardships, but it helps us to see them as meaningful instead of pointless. And this is me um, pretty much exactly a year ago. And I don't know if you can see it in the image. Maybe if I do it like this. Can you see that one of my pupils is actually not black? It's gray. That is because maybe like 1.5 years ago, I got this thing called, in English, it's cataracts. It's basically like your lens gets dirty or clouded and it starts to like make you go blind. But luckily, there is a way to fix this with surgery where you change the lens. But when I first went to the doctor with this, she said, "Oh, yeah, but it's too early to do surgery. You're gonna have to live with this for a long time because you're so young, and we don't know if the lens is gonna survive during your lifetime, and it's really hard to change it after, and blah, blah, blah." So I was like, okay. And it kept getting worse. And in the end, you can see in the right side here how my vision was. And, yes, I could still see with my left eye, but it was so annoying. It was this like blurred double vision. And as an artist, having devoted so much of my life and my path to painting, this was a challenge. This was a real challenge for me. It was so hard to focus and see what I was doing. It was almost like, when you have a cold and you can't hear on like one of your ears and it gets super annoying to be around people. That's how I felt. I felt very introverted and yeah, I was in this tunnel of change and I didn't know where it was leading. And in all of this, what helped me so much was to look for the bigger meaning. And it led me to this path of heart opening, which I'm going to tell you about later. And it expanded my vision for what I wanted to do in life beyond the art. And that is also one of the reasons why we're sitting here today. Now, today, I have had surgery because I went to another doctor that said, no, it's fine. You can do surgery. This lens is going to survive. Like that doctor was probably just old and old-fashioned. So I had surgery last year, and when I got my vision back, I felt like life was so beautiful. Like when you haven't been able to see clearly for a while, oh my God. It was like I entered HD mode on life, and it got so beautiful. So, the reason I'm telling you this is because we could ask, was I in the flow of life? And I would say yes and no. There were definitely some choices that I had made that had put my body in like a lot of stress at that time. But in a way, I think I had to get there to find the gold, the heart focus, to teach not just about art and to see the incredible beauty of life. So I want you also to take this with you that like don't worry so much about being in the current. As soon as you ask yourself, what's the resonant truth here? What's my truth? And you look for the clues and you take action accordingly, you jump back into that current. And it doesn't save you from hardships, but it helps you to give meaning to it. So if you're there right now, if something in your life is very hard, don't even stress about finding the meaning. Just know that whenever you allow yourself to feel the grief, the pain, the fear, without getting stuck in the stories, without forcing it to become something meaningful, but when you trust that the meaning will emerge, it always does when you're ready for it. We are cute and messy humans. I've said it a lot, and somehow this presentation decided to also remind us with this beautiful drawing. So that's pretty much all I'm gonna say. But what the beauty about that is that imagine going to a cinema and imagine that all the characters were just perfect. They just did all the stuff that they just did it all right. There wouldn't even be a story. It wouldn't be interesting at all. You would leave the cinema, right? We are here to experience the stories also in our lives. We are here to experience the mess. And when those moments come, we can sit in our soul, inside of ourselves. Imagine we're eating popcorn and just watching it all unfold and go, ooh, how's she gonna tackle that? Oh, now you're in trouble. How is this gonna go? It really helps. It doesn't take away the challenges, but it helps. And I also want to say that it's okay to feel lost and not have all the answers right now. We're going to go into some reflections. You're going to get moments to ask yourself some important questions. But if you don't have the answers right now, it's also okay. Then this is just a seed that was planted in you. We want to be so good at being lost that we enjoy it. That we enjoy the thrill of not knowing how it's going to go. And sometimes that's impossible, but let's do our best. The magic is in this journey, in this moment of finding up, of showing up every day, of who you are becoming. It's not about the goal that you think you want to get to. Having a goal is great because it makes you move, it makes you have meaning. But the magic itself is always, always the journey. Okay, it's time for a little reflection. I'm also gonna see if I can fix this. Okay, so take your journal. And the first question that I want you to answer is, in what area of your life do you feel stuck or longing for a change right now? Just identify the area. Is it your relationship, your work situation, self-image, friends, or creativity? Take a little moment to journal about that. did love the clutter, but somehow it was now removed when I reshared the screen. So if you have journaled about the first question, you can also start to identify what is it that you are longing to feel. Not what you're longing for, or you can write that too, but what is it actually that you are longing to feel? So if you feel a bit stuck with a relationship, it could be that you want to feel more connection. Or if you feel frustrated at work, it could be that you want to feel inspired and like you're contributing like your best self. You want to feel valued. Or maybe it's finances and you're just longing to feel stable and free. So take a little moment to identify that. And once you have journaled about that, see if there is also a dilemma going on inside of you. Very often, we think we have a dilemma. Should I do this or that? Should I stay or should I leave? Should I continue or should I change everything? Who here feels like they have a dilemma? Raise your hand. Okay, great. Oh, that's so interesting. So journal a little bit about that and see if you can identify like the two options that you think are the dilemma. And if you ever get done before everyone else in this reflection, you can always make sure that you have some warm tea next to you, or that you're really cozy in your space wherever you are. Okay, I want to check in with you. How ready are we to move on? Do a thumbs up if you feel like I'm done. I got this. I know my dilemma. Okay, I'm only seeing a few of you, but I see a couple of thumbs up. Yes. Okay, we're gonna move on. There's always time to continue journaling a bit later. So, you have heard me mention resonant truth a couple of times. And this is the key to synchronicity that I wanted to give you today. But there are more. And we're going to go through all of them inside of the School of Synchronicity for whoever feels called to join that. But I would say that this is one of the main keys. And this whole thing actually deepened even for me just the other day. I used to call this inner truth, but I always felt like something was missing because Yes, it's a lot about your inner truth, but it is also about what's in resonance with the greater whole. So when I say resonant truth, I mean what wants to move through you and the greater whole. It's your inner truth combined with what seems true for the greater system that you are part of. What is best for the well-being of the family, the group, the ecosystem. And when it comes to your inner truth, as I see it, it is partly your authenticity. And it is also your choice to live in integrity. It's like we want to get to a place where we are radically honest about our desires, impulses, longings, but we always let those desires pass through the question, does this serve life, not just me? And this is such a balance. And I think that somehow when we start to discover being authentic and living our truth, first, many of us have perhaps been in the space of like self-sacrificing, saying we're doing something for the greater good, but actually neglecting our own needs and desires. We don't want to be there. But then we can also balance too much into my inner truth and get very individualistic and almost self-centered and disconnected from the greater whole. I share my truth no matter what. And I believe that this is such a fine dance. It's about, yes, being radically honest, but always asking yourself, is this coming from love? Is this part of what's the resonant truth for the greater whole? I would say that most of us, especially women, tend to self-sacrifice too much and bypass our own needs. So I will put some main focus on your inner truth today, because in a way, I also think that what you want the most deep down is also the intelligence of life guiding you. If you have deconditioned yourself enough from the expectations of society, from what your ego thinks you want, when you go deep down enough to how you want to feel, I think that is deeply entwined with what's also best for the larger systems that you are part of. So let's talk about inner truth. And remember that now I'm also going to go into a little bit of theory, but all of this is words and they will have different meaning to different people. I'm just trying to point to two things when it comes to inner truth, and if the words don't resonate perfectly, you can feel free to replace it with your own version. So the first part of inner truth is authenticity. It's about knowing and being true to who you are. Knowing what you feel, want, value, and need. Being radically honest with yourself, that takes guts sometimes. Because sometimes we don't want to see the truth because it just feels so scary or painful. Authenticity is also about letting yourself be seen as who you truly are. Not who you want to present yourself as for admiration, or if you're afraid people aren't gonna like you if you share your truth. No, who you truly are. And it's about expressing your real emotions, truths, and desires. Of course, in a non-violent way, if you can. I used to cluster integrity and authenticity, and this is what clarified for me a few days ago. So we're going to talk also about integrity soon. I would say that authenticity is about inner alignment. This is when we ask, is this really me? Or this is when we say to someone, I want to be close to you, but I feel so scared right now. And inside the School of Synchronicity, we go much deeper into this. We go through a bit of a deconditioning from the expectations of who we're supposed to be. But a person who only practices authenticity without integrity is missing something. We don't fully trust them because they might say, I feel like this now, and then tomorrow they feel something else, and then everything changed and you don't know where they went, right? And this is where integrity comes in. Integrity is about living in alignment with your values. It's almost like authenticity is the inner alignment, and integrity is how you put it into action with the world around you. Integrity is about acting in accordance with your values and doing what you say you will do. And it's about having boundaries. It's about saying no to what isn't in alignment for you. This is when your actions are guided by what you know to be right, instead of avoiding discomfort or seeking instant gratification. And this takes practice. This can be very hard, especially in today's society. This is when you ask yourself, am I truly living my truth? Am I truly living what I believe to be right? This is when you say, I value honesty, so I tell the truth even when it costs me. That's integrity. But integrity without authenticity becomes self-sacrifice. It becomes staying in places for too long. It becomes stuckness. And authenticity without integrity becomes flakiness, where nothing is built and everything is unstable. And I think that we all might have a tendency to be more in one or the other. So if you're like, ooh, integrity, maybe not my thing right now, it's okay. You're human. Remember that. This is not about being perfect. I also want to mention dopamine addiction in all of this. The addiction that blocks most of us from living in integrity. Today's social media and our phones are built to trigger a very primal reward system in our brains. It hijacks our dopamine circuits, which gives us these fast hits of dopamine from like scrolling instead of actually doing something that feels important and meaningful to us in the long run. So this is the reason why I highly recommend dopamine detoxing, and that's what we're gonna do in the School of Synchronicity as one of the first things. I do this in almost all my courses, and people love it. People who join my courses to create and paint and write, they join and they have this detox, and all of a sudden they have so much more energy and focus for what they truly want. All right, moving on. So when we take in the greater whole, we ask ourselves what is best for the resonance of the larger system. And this is the filter through which we always want to take our inner truth. And like I said before, many people will use the greater whole as an excuse to avoid conflict or to stay in victimhood or to bypass their own needs or even to do evil things. So just beware. It can be hard to discern what's what if you are run by fear, for instance. But in general, I would say, because I know that all of you who are here in this space are good-hearted people that want to do good in the world. So very often what your heart truly desires is exactly what the world needs. Maybe not exactly in the shape or form that you have made up in your mind, but at least that's the direction you want to be heading. Yes. And we're also going into this in more depth in the School of Synchronicity. Take a screenshot of this if you want, because I think this is important. How do we sense into the greater whole without bypassing ourselves? I would say that sensing into the greater whole is about timing. It's about seeing your impact, the long-term effects in the system, group, or family that you are part of. And very often, your body is gonna be a great sensor here. The more you heal, the more you connect to love, the more second nature this becomes. The more you learn to feel your sensations in your body. So when you do something that is aligned with your truth and also with the resonance of the greater whole, you feel a sense of grounded clarity. Sadness, fear, or even frustration can be there, but also a deeper sense of trust in the background. In the long run, this leads to a deeper relaxation in your nervous system. And in the long run, this move is going to feel expansive in some shape or form. So, oh yeah, I have some good examples here. If you're a parent, you will know this. You are devoting your life to caring for your child when you become a parent. And yes, your needs are super important, but you can never leave an infant or a toddler at home to go and take care of your own needs first. So there is a sense of this is the right and true thing to do right now. And in the long run, when you do those things with your kids, when you don't let them have too much screen time, for instance, even though you are so tired and you just want to have a break, but in the long run, you relax more because your child becomes more balanced and you feel more proud of yourself as a parent. Do you see what I mean? It's when you make those choices that are good for the well-being of you and those around you in the long run. Sometimes maybe you let them watch the screen because you really need a break to recharge, to be a balanced mom or dad. So there's never like one answer to all of these things. It could also be that your partner is feeling super jealous for no reason, and that it requires a level of taking their perspective. Maybe the jealousy isn't even about you or that you did something wrong. Maybe it's just about their wounds. And maybe you feel annoyed, and maybe that makes you want even more freedom. And it might require you to be the bigger person first. It might require you to see that there is a little child within that partner that is active right now and wants safety. And it may require you to meet their needs for safety while also staying true to your own boundaries. So when you do this leap, what's it called in English? yeah, when you just take this little moment to ask, what is the resonant truth here for the greater whole? In the long run, you create more safety in your relationships, and things you never thought could heal will heal. Okay, we have a lot to cover, so I'm moving on. Quick note, the magic of saying no to what, when we say no to what isn't in alignment, we give our yes the meaning and depth it deserves again. Resonant truth is often simple. Life doesn't always become more magical by adding more. It's truly when we know our priorities and we remove what isn't right for us, that is when we make space for synchronicities to occur. There are also those of you who might be really, really good at saying no. And maybe then for you, it's actually time to say hell yeah. So sense into your own balance with this. And this is also something that we talk more about in the School of Synchronicity, but telling the truth can be so scary. But I want you to remember that the greatest resistance is always before we do it. We are so scared of the unknown. Our subconscious fears the unknown more than a familiar hell. So we don't want change subconsciously because our brains from the cave days, they are wired to do what is known, because if we did what was unknown back then, we might die. But we live in a much safer world today. We can take risks. We can make mistakes. It's fine. We're gonna survive. So remember that the greatest resistance is before you take the leap. So again, resonant truth is the combination of your inner truth and what's best for the resonance of the greater whole. When you take action in accordance with resonant truth, this is when your inner and outer experiences start to synchronize. It's like you sync up with the greater whole. There's a resonance within you because you feel true, and because the difference between what's in here and what's out here is not that huge anymore. And that resonance in you taps into the resonance of the larger whole. It's almost like you generate harmonious patterns within yourself. Literally, your heartbeat and your brain syncs up in a harmonious way. And I believe that when you are in this kind of harmony, you also tap into harmonious patterns with the world around you. And this is when the choices you make, the timing of things, and the people you meet, and the circumstances that present themselves begin to sync up. They fall into place. And this is what I like to call synchronicity. We're actually going to soon go into a meditation. But first, I want to invite you into one more reflection. What is draining your energy right now? And I invite you to be a little more honest with yourself than you dared to before you joined this call. If you get really, really, really true with yourself, what is draining your energy? Sometimes those are the things we don't even want to write down. will give you a couple of minutes here to write and reflect, maybe 5. So if you need a toilet break, if you need to make some more tea, I encourage you to do that now. If you get some time over. And if you didn't have enough time for those other questions before and you finish this early, you can also go back to those questions. In which area of your life are you longing for a change, and what is it truly that you're longing to feel? And what's draining your energy is sometimes not something outside of yourself. Sometimes it's the way that you interpret other people's behaviors or the world around you. Sometimes what's draining is actually your perspective, and it's time to choose a new one. So you can always double check that with yourself. Look at what you first wrote and then ask yourself, is it really that thing, or is it the way how I look at it? I will give you another minute to journal before we continue. All right. I hope you finished your journaling. Great. And we're gonna move on. And the next part, I actually made more for this presentation than we're gonna have time for. So I'm gonna quite quickly go through the next thing. If you wanna remember everything, take photos of the screen, because there is a lot more information than we actually have time to talk about. But I think this is such an important perspective, so I still want to mention it. So, sometimes we have no idea what our truth is. Or we think that it's one thing, and we take action in a rush, and later on we realize that no, this wasn't really my truth. And I believe that that is deeply entwined with our nervous systems. A regulated nervous system is what gives you access to resonant truth. This is when it becomes easier to understand yourself, to understand your intuition, and also to sense into what's best for the greater whole. So listen to me speeding through this. How ironic. We're talking about nervous system regulation. This is life somehow, sometimes. But listen to this and take notes, take photos if you want to remember everything. Let's go. So, in short, and in simplification, your nervous system has two modes. And I think most of you probably already know this. Oh, I also see my sister is here and she's a doctor. So you can tell me if I'm right. But in simple terms, you could say that there's the activated state in your nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze. This is when you wanna yell at someone, or you just wanna escape the conflict or the situation, or you freeze and you have no idea what to do. This feels like racing thoughts, urgency, overthinking, or you fall into people pleasing or withdrawing. It feels like a tension in your chest, like shallow breathing, like a clenched jaw. And this is when we enter black or white thinking. This is when we get stuck in dilemmas and we only see two options and we think we have to choose now. Our focus becomes narrow, and so do our minds. And the main questions that your body asks itself in this state is, how do I stay safe? And this can be triggered by sometimes the smallest things, like a conflict or financial insecurity or not knowing where you're gonna live next or having a boss at work that somehow activates something in you. And then on the other end, we also have the calm and connected mode. This is the rest and digest mode. This is where you feel trust. This is where you feel patience about your path, about other people. Your breath is slower, you're more relaxed, you're able to feel mixed emotions without overwhelm. You feel a sense of clarity, a kind of non urgent knowing. Even if that clarity is, I don't have the answers right now and I need to find out. This is where you have the capacity to pause and choose your reaction. And this is where we become open to see the synchronicities that are all around us. And I would say that the question you ask yourself more in this state is, what is actually true? What is actually true for me? What is it that I want, or what's best for the greater whole? And there are so many people that talk about this today, nervous system regulation. And I think sometimes we can get into this idea that we always have to be so calm, so regulated, so zen. And that's not fully the truth. Because a healthy nervous system, that is when you are able to move between these states. So when something happens that activates you, something dangerous, you enter the activated state. And when something happens that signals that the danger is over, you go back into feeling calm and connected. But the problem is that many adults are stuck in the activation mode today without even knowing it. Sometimes it's like we exit a stressful phase and then we realized how stressed we were, right? So sometimes you don't see this because it's like maybe you have been so stressed for so long, or you have been in this state for so long because of trauma, past experiences, that you don't even realize it. And only when you get to a truly calm and grounded place, then you can say, oh my God, I was so activated. I was so tunnel focused. I wasn't sensing my body. This is very subtle in a way, but the more we practice this, the more we put our focus here, the better we can get with this dance, at this dance. So your state shapes your perception. Imagine going to a party, same place, same people, but the first time you're in this activated state, and this is where you're worrying about what others are going to think of you, you're people pleasing, or you're like withdrawing, saying I don't belong here, or you're looking for proof that you're not welcome in this space or that you're not part of this. Then you can be pretty sure that somehow you were activated. Or if you went to a party with a regulated nervous system, you may feel maybe still a bit nervous before entering, but you will be able to go there and follow your curiosity. Doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert. Maybe you just have one conversation, but it was really, you followed your curiosity. This is when you're able to connect, to stay in eye contact, and when you're sensing into what's true for you in conversations, when you're looking for connection, and when you also feel open to the synchronicities. Yeah, I mentioned this. We get stuck in survival mode because of trauma, constant stimulation, not having your basic needs met. That's also an important one. And also because culture has taught us to suppress emotions instead of actually feeling what's there. So we bury it under distractions, under addictions. And this is when it gets stuck in the body. And we store those emotions. I learned this the hard way. Basic needs first. It's very hard to have a regulated nervous system without food and the right nutrients, water, shelter, rest, movement, and some hugs, and probably some other things too that I haven't written here. But some of us will have this tendency to like underestimate basic needs and take risks that are perhaps too big. And we don't want to get there either. We want to have the basics in place because that makes it a lot easier to feel safe. There's so many ways that we can return to a regulated state, and we're gonna do one of them very soon, so I'm not gonna dwell here, but just know that there are many, and you can find your own ways depending on what your body likes and how you respond to different things. Also this, take a screenshot, take a photo, because we don't have time for it all, but this is also a body thing, fear or intuition. How do you tell what's what? Fear, decisions coming from fear will feel like urgency, like a contraction in your body, like repetitive thinking, looping thoughts, and it's usually avoidance driven. It's like you want to escape the discomfort. You don't want conflict, you don't want loss. Or you have this external focus. What are others going to think? And the after effect is usually a short-term relief, but then followed by doubt, heaviness, or second guessing, or even more stress. But when it's coming from your intuition, it feels like a calm clarity. You feel clear without pressure or urgency. You have this like sense of coherence in your body. You feel grounded, open, and a little bit expanded. And it's kind of simple. You have fewer thoughts, you don't need to explain so much, you just know. You have more capacity for discomfort. You have the willingness to feel the fear, the grief, or the uncertainty. And you also have this sense of like self-trust, that it's your choice. It's not dependent on how others are going to perceive you. And the after effect of these choices are usually where your nervous system settles over time and energy gradually returns. Okay. Synchronicity happens in the stretch zone. If we spend all our time in the comfort zone, like we go to the same job, we see the same people, we watch the same things on Netflix, then the magic doesn't really have a way to reach us. Because we're too comfortable. We're not making any choices, bold choices. We're not taking any risk whatsoever. Some of us tend to stay in the comfort zone too much. But we also don't want to go too much into this danger zone. It's like when you take a risk that is so huge that you just get completely overwhelmed. This is when you feel completely dysregulated, you feel overwhelmed, you're unable to navigate the change because the risk you took was too much for your system. So it's about finding what the stretch zone is for you. And very often it's not about massive action. It's not this one decision that changed your whole life. I know I told my own story in the beginning, but some of the choices that I have made that have really turned my life into something magical, they have also been the actions that I chose to repeat over time. Like meditation, like exercise, like painting, showing up for my art practice. So, synchronicity happens in the stretch zone. And in the same way, this is the direction we want to move. We want to first make sure that we have our basic needs met. Then we work with our nervous system. Then we can sense into resonant truth. And that's when synchronicity starts to flow. This is when we can enter a more playful approach to life. It gets hard to be playful if our basic needs aren't met, if our nervous system isn't regulated, or if we're not living in our truth, right? So let me see. Okay, you don't have to journal about this, but I want you to notice, how are you feeling right now? Just close your eyes for a little moment and check in with yourself. How is your forehead feeling? Your jaw, your shoulders? Are you holding any tension somewhere? Just notice whatever is there. And also notice, which nervous system state do you think that you have spent the majority of your time in lately? What's your week been like? Where have you been? And you don't have to journal about that either, but just notice. It gives you a lot of important information. Okay, so we're gonna go into a practice. And I just want to say that this practice is about love, and we're not gonna talk so much about love because, in a way, it's just impossible to put words to it. But I want you to remember this, that truth and love are deeply entwined. Because truth is only true when love is there too. And I mean love in the larger sense, like it can easily get mixed up with infatuation, codependency, and sometimes even with guilt. But the kind of love for yourself and the world. And sometimes love means letting go, saying goodbye, saying no, not giving others what they think they want, for the resonance of you or them or the greater whole. And sometimes love means not giving up, screaming yes from the top of your lungs, following your desires, sacrificing your plans to truly be there for a friend. In a way, I would say that love is resonant truth. It's the combination of you and the greater whole, but it is also something that I can't even put words to right now. But love is another important key to synchronicity. Okay, so we're gonna enter this meditation. And this is a practice that I found last year when I was struggling with my eyesight. And it's so cool because I learned so much about the heart during this time. I learned that the heart contains 40,000 neurons. It has the strongest magnetic field in and around your body. And you can draw your own conclusions from that. Your brain also has a magnetic field, but the heart has the strongest one. It sends more signals to your brain than the other way around. And there is a way to hack your way into your heart. And it goes through your breath. And that's what we're going to do right now. All right. So you can make yourself comfortable. I'm going to choose the right kind of music for us to play. And make sure that it's on. How are we feeling? Do a thumbs up if you're here, if you're following along, if you're liking this. Okay, good. It's so lovely to have you all here. Wow. I love having online workshops, but sometimes I feel like I'm missing this part where I can sense the group, if you know what I mean. But yes, I love the hearts. I love the thumbs up. Okay, let's get ready. Let's get comfortable. So, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna guide you, and you only have one job. And that job is to breathe and focus your attention on your heart. And we're gonna do this for 10-ish minutes. And then after that, it's gonna be like 5 to 9. And after that, I will tell you about the School of Synchronicity and I will give you the last important takeaway, your assignment from this whole thing. It might come like 10 past 9, so I hope you can stay. If not, you can watch the recording later. But I really, really recommend you to stay. Okay. So we're going to place our attention inside of our hearts. And you're going to breathe in for about 4 seconds. And then you're going to exhale for around 6 seconds. And in the beginning, I will count. And after a while, I'll stop counting. And when I stop counting, you just continue at your own pace. You don't have to count, but make sure that your exhale is slightly longer than your inhale. So we want to inhale, if you don't have a cold, inhale through the nose, deeper and a little bit faster, like, and exhale slowly through the mouth. That's the way we want to breathe. So I'm gonna share some music. How are we feeling about the volume? Is it good? Great. Okay. So I invite you to close your eyes if that feels good to you. And it can help to place a hand on your heart to focus your attention there. And I'm soon gonna start counting, and all you need to do right now is to follow the instructions of my voice. So get ready for the first inhale. We breathe in 2, 3, 4, and out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 2, 3, 4, and out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now continue at your own pace. Place your attention in your heart. And just make sure that the exhale is slightly longer than your inhale. And whenever you lose track, just notice and come back, placing your attention in your heart again. And just start to notice whatever is there right now. Whatever you feel, just allow it for a moment. If you feel joy, sadness, grief, if you've been keeping the lid closed for a long time, or if you feel nothing at all right now, it's all okay. Just notice whatever is there. And keep breathing in through your nose and out through the mouth. And now in your mind's eye, I invite you to see in front of you a person that you truly love. You don't need to overthink it, just take the first one who popped up. It can be someone who is present with us now, or someone who has passed on to the other side. It can also be a pet or a place, if that feels easier to you. And just see them in front of you. Imagine them laughing. Imagine them telling you about something that feels hard for them. Imagine them obsessed with something they love, deeply immersed. Imagine you are giving them a hug and telling them how much they mean to you. Imagine you are telling them, I wish that you get to be happy. That you get to live a life of love, of joy, truth and play. And just notice the feeling inside of your heart right now. You can let go of the image of this person and just stay with the sensation inside of your heart. And now, directing the same kind of love to yourself. So imagine that your hand is holding yourself, holding your heart. And imagine inside your heart is a little child, the child you once were, and all the other versions of you that you have lived, including your future self. Hold them all as you hold your hand on your heart. And tell them, tell yourself, I wish that you get to be happy, that you get to live a life of joy, of truth, of love, of resonance and play. And now for a little moment, I'm going to stop talking and I invite you to just continue. Remember to breathe in through the nose, out through your mouth, and just let your focus rest in the beating of your heart and see what wants to come to you. Maybe it's words, images, or just a sensation. So in your own time, whenever you feel ready, you can make your way back to this workshop, to this moment. And if you want, you can write in the chat, how was this for you? What came up? Everything is welcome. And I also invite you to one last time, or yeah, kind of last time, take out your journal and just write down a few words of what came to you in this meditation. What does your heart want you to know? And I also invite you to go back to your dilemma in the beginning and see if there's a third option that you haven't thought of. the heart often holds a lot of wisdom that we cannot get to with our brains alone. The heart knows forgiveness. The heart knows love. The heart knows joy. And the more we come back to this place inside of ourselves, the more we knock on the door of our hearts, the more they reveal to us. Maybe nothing happened for you this time, but I guarantee if you continue with this and you come back to your heart as often as you can, you will start to receive answers that you could never have thought of with your brain. Okay, we are close to 9 o'clock and we have so few things left. It's been a joy. And I want to take you back to this image of us again and remind you that in the end, nobody is going to remember your failures. You have one chance to be you in this lifetime. Maybe we live several lives, who knows, but we cannot know that for sure. But what we do know is that we have this life. We have this life to make into something beautiful, into something that we truly love and enjoy. One precious moment to fully live and make love to existence. And with that said, I will tell you about the School of Synchronicity quickly, and after that I will give you an assignment. So I am so excited for this. It's been a long time coming. I have honestly worked on this maybe like in the beginning, not consciously, but for at least 2 years. The School of Synchronicity is a little bit of a mystery school, but it's a mystery school in the way that is very practical. It's about tapping into our inner truth, and it's about living our inner truth. But so often, when we do that, when we when we start making choices that are a little more bold or a little just outside of our comfort zone, the subconscious fears that and wants to go back to the familiar, to the known. And that is why I love creating this container, because it's going to be a place where you can come and feel held and feel like you're not alone. A place where we are all committed to living in resonant truth, to visiting our stretch zones, and to turn life into a beautiful love story with the universe. When we have a regulated nervous system and we have access to our inner truth and we are able to put that into action, something profound happens. This is when our natural state more and more becomes joy and play. And that is also a big part of this. I think, Erla, you have the link, right? So Erla will put the link in the chat along with a discount code very soon if you feel called to join this. So the School of Synchronicity is about living your truth with love with presence, with joy, and to find out who is this version of me that is loving life so much that I just want to play, I just want to drink the moment and be with existence. It's a bit of a reinvention of the character that you are playing here on planet Earth. It's about coming into this perspective that life is, in a way, the most epic love story we could ever witness, and that we have the capacity to become the authors of our lives. And we have the capacity to design who we're going to be while we're here. We can't choose everything, but we can choose so much more than we think. But this requires nervous system regulation. This requires working with our subconscious. And this requires a little bit of courage. And it's hard to do that alone. But when we come together into a collective field, that is when growth becomes natural. That is when this work becomes very potent. And the best thing about this is that the teachings, the main teachings, will arrive by letter to your door. How romantic. I want it to feel like you're joining Hogwarts almost, but a more grounded, practical version. And after you receive letters with the teachings, you will also meet with me and the rest of the participants in online workshops focused on embodiment. So the teachings arrive by letter, and the embodiment further happens in the workshops. And along all of this, there's also going to be voice notes from me, at least weekly, sometimes maybe even daily, if you want additional insights and inspiration. There's going to be a community chat where you can ask questions. There is going to be the option, if you want, to have your own synchronicity partners, and we swap every month. And let me see if there was something else. Yes, we begin with a dopamine detox. And the first workshop happens on March 5th, but the enrollment closes almost a month before because we want to have time to send out the letters on time. So if you feel called, Erla, are you still here? Yes. Okay, great. Have you put the link in the chat?
I have.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the link is now in the chat. And for the next 24 hours, you can use a discount code that gives you 50 euros off. And this is the pricing for the 3 months. You can either choose to pay one time, or you can divide the payment into 3 times. So you can either join as a regular member, or you can book this with 3 additional coaching sessions with me. In that case, the price goes up, but the coaching price is still more lower than if you just book coaching outside of this. Yes, and this is the discount code. So go and check it out if you feel called. But now I want to give you one last assignment. When you leave this, and you can take out your journal now and write this down, what is one small or big aligned action that you can take to move into more authenticity into more inner truth. And remember, it doesn't have to be, it can be saying no to something. It doesn't have to be to add something more. But I want you to feel like this action is a bit of a flirt with existence. I want you to take it in that kind of vibe. So, identify the stretch zone here. Take something where you can still have this approach to life, that you are flirting with existence. And after that, you're gonna be on the lookout and see if existence is flirting back with you. Maybe this action is the opposite of your usual pattern. So if you're a yes sayer, it might be saying no to something. If you're a no sayer, it might actually be to say yes to something that feels a bit expansive. And if you have no idea whatsoever, I would recommend starting with nervous system regulation. Maybe it's a new habit like meditation or just exercise is also great for feeling great. Sometimes so underestimated in like wellness spaces, but oh Lord, exercise does a lot. So identify your aligned action. And if you want, you can write your action as a way to commit. You can write it in the chat. So I will give you a few more minutes. I see someone asked about a screenshot in one of the slides. You will get a recording of this. So if you didn't catch everything, you can always look at the recording later and pause where you feel it's necessary.
Amalia, there's a question about how your private coaching looks like.
Oh, okay. I usually it's a 1 hour session. For this course, it's a 1 hour session. And I love to start the session with slowing down, doing some small meditation or practice that makes you land in the space. And after that, we get very clear about what is your challenge right now, or what is something you're longing for. And from there, we go on an exploration together. Sometimes sometimes people need help to identify like what is actually my true truth here. What choice do I want to make? And in those cases, we also work with your inner parts, because in a way we can look at it like we have our true self, but we also have these little parts of us, like the wounded little child, or the mother in me, or the freedom seeker. And identifying those sometimes helps a lot for clarity. And sometimes I just have intuitive meditations based on what you say, and clarity comes in those. Oh, okay. People are committing to things. The heart meditation. I will send you, I will remember this. I will send you a link to a meditation like this that I have recorded that is available on Insight Timer and YouTube. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, I see so many reaching out to a friend I've disconnected from and to apologize. Wow. New to your space, how does your private coaching look? Yes. Social media detox. Wow, it starts on your birthday. Oh my god. Okay. I have enjoyed this so much. Thank you so, so, so much, everyone who has joined this, both people I know and people I've never met before. I am so grateful for your time. I'm sorry that we went a little past the end hour, but I'm sure you're fine with that. You are so welcome to message me after this, send me an email. You can reply to when I send you the recording and just tell me how this landed for you. I would love to know. It's the first time I talk about synchronicity and all of these things. So please let me know how was this for you? How did it land? And if you feel called to join the School of Synchronicity, I would love to have you on this mischievous little adventure. It's gonna be the perfect combination of inner truth, sincerity, discernment, but also radical play and fun and joy. So if you're down for that, make sure to join in the next 24 hours, because after that, the discount code expires. Thank you so much. Love you all. Mwah.